Welcome back, guys. In this section, we'll be talking about wireframe basics, which will cover types of wireframe and also best practices for wireframe. Wireframes are skeletal presentation or representations of a user interface that illustrate the basic structure and layout of a design. They help UI and UX designers communicate and visualize their ideas before diving into detailed visual design. So in a nutshell, wireframe is like the blueprint of your web app or your mobile app. Types of wireframe. We have three types of wireframe. First one is low fidelity wireframes or lo-fi wireframes. These wireframes are simple, basic, and focus on the overall layout and structure of the interface. They are often created using simple shapes, lines, and placeholders for content without any detailed design or visual styling. Basically, they are all created in black and white. The next wireframe type is mid-fidelity wireframes. These add more details to the low-fidelity wireframes. They include basic visual elements such as colors, fonts, and typography, but still prioritize the layout and structure of the design. They strike a balance between the simplicity of low-fidelity wireframes and the detailed visual design of high-fidelity wireframes. In a nutshell, in mid-fidelity wireframes, maybe we can now introduce colors of buttons and shapes and the actual font type we might want to use in the app. The next wireframe type will be high-fidelity wireframes. They are more detailed and visually defined. They closely resemble the final product and include specific design elements such as colors, typography, images, and content. High fidelity wireframes provides a clearer representation of the final user interface. Those are the three types of wireframes. Coming to the best practices of wireframe, we have a few best practices of wireframe I would suggest each beginner in their UI UX journey keep in mind. The first one will be simplify and focus. Yes, just as the title is, keep your wireframe simple and focus on the main purpose. Avoid adding unnecessary details that can distract from the main content and functionality. The second one being prioritize content and hierarchy. Clearly define the content hierarchy and prioritize the most important element. This helps users easily navigate and understand the information presented in the wireframe. The third one being consider user needs. Always design wireframes with the end user in mind. Understand the user's goals, behaviors, and needs to create an intuitive and user-friendly interface. In a nutshell, what this means is like, as I said earlier, wireframe just looks like a blueprint to a building. So you have to consider the occupants of that building in mind. Consider their tastes, consider what they want, consider the color of the building, consider the structure of the bedroom, the living room, and the whole space of that building. Moving on, the fourth one is going to be maintain consistency. Use consistent design patterns, elements, and terminology throughout the wireframes. Consistency helps users understand and navigate the interface more easily. The fifth one being collaborate and iterate, which is involve stakeholders, developers, and other team members in the wireframing process. Collaboration and iterative feedback help refine and improve the wireframes before moving on to the visual design stage. The final one is validate and test. Yes, we all know what validate and test is. Conduct usability testing with wireframes to gather feedback and validate design decision. Testing helps identify potential issues and improve the overall user experience. Mind you, don't limit your knowledge to everything I said here. You can also do your further research to better understand the basics of wireframe, the history behind it, and the best practices you can abide by. So in a nutshell, when creating wireframes, it's important to follow certain best practices to ensure their effectiveness and usability. By understanding the different types of wireframes and following best practices, beginner students will be able to effectively communicate their design ideas and create user centered interfaces. Welcome back, guys. In this video, we'll go ahead and start our wireframing section. So I'll just design a basic home page, a low fidelity wireframe for a home page and a login or sign up page. So I'll zoom after creating my frame, and I'll press O to change to my ellipse tool, and I'll create a logo, a circular shape representing logo. I'll press T to switch to my text tool, increase the font size and change it to bold, something big, extra bold, yes. Yeah, I'll look for a bigger font, increase the font, yes. So that's done. I'll just take it by the side. Yes, I think it's okay. Duplicate it, holding the Alt key. I did this to about. Then the next one will contact us. Yes, that's basically it. So I'll highlight the tree, tidy it up, highlight this tree and shift this tool and shift it close. Highlight only whom and shift it closer, having the same gutter spacing between them, which is 90 pixels. After that, I'll use the rectangular tool to create a shape. This will represent the image. Yes, I'll just leave it like this. It's going to represent the image. And yeah, I think that's just what I would do. We all know what this is. I just told you guys it's the image. So let me go ahead and do some other elements here using the rectangle tool. I'll draw another one. Yes. Yeah, I think that's okay. Then draw the last one, which will be the button. Yes. Okay. So once that's done, I'll use the text tool and type a few things. I'll just try and change the font to font awesome, shift it to the middle of the rectangular elements, duplicate it, and this will be the description. Then I also duplicate this paragraph, then drag the last one above the rectangle and rename it to CTA. This is a call to action button, which is like login or create account. So once that's done, we'll move on to our next frame. I'm just going to use an iPhone 14. Yes, iPhone 14 Pro Max frame here to create a basic login page. So I'll rename the title login page low fidelity. It's good to name all your frames so that you easily know through by the left hand side which frame you're working on, without being confused by the duplicated names of the iPhone 14 Pro Max 1, 2, or 3. So that's just it. So what I want to do now is to duplicate my logo. So I'll just duplicate that. Yes, reduce it, very, very small size. Then what I'm going to do, I'll use a plugin, which is the blush plugin to bring an illustration into my wireframing. So I'll just pick the basic one. Yes, I'll click this. So normally it's supposed to allow me to change the color, but not all of them gives you that functionality unless you're using the paid version. So I'll just reduce that. Since I can't edit the color, I'll just edit it to black since this is a low fidelity wireframing. Yes, but since that's not possible, no problem. Let's go ahead. I use the rectangular tool to create some elements and duplicate them. Yes, duplicate them. So I'll click done and I'll press my text tool, email, push it up there, duplicate it. Then password, click outside, push it up where it's supposed to be. Then I'll duplicate or create a new shape. Yes, so I'll just create one. Login. This will be the login button. Then social media logins, I'll also do that. I'll reduce the font size. So just forgot password, put a question mark. After this, I'll now do the social media logins. But before that, I'll just hold the shift key and select all these elements and shift it a little bit up. I'll use a rectangle tool and draw 3 rectangles with same gutter. Shift them to the center of the frame. Reduce the font size, then type, this is G. I'm just going to reduce the font size. Yes, 236. Then I'll hold Alt and duplicate it. And I'll duplicate it again. So I'll rename that to G and the other one to T, which is Google, Facebook, and Twitter. So that's all for our low fidelity wireframe session. Welcome back to this wonderful course. In this video, I'll just show an alternative to build wireframes, specifically low fidelity wireframes, using a software. This is just like a bonus. The software is similar to Figma, but has less functionality. It's called Balsamic Wireframes. So I just installed that on my MacBook, and I'll try to recreate that particular login page using Balsamic. So you can also specify the width and height just like Figma sidebar. So this is let's take this as my frame, iPhone 14 book frame, iPhone 14 Pro frame, sorry. Then I'm looking for a circular shape. This is my circle. I increase it a little bit. Then the next one will be the image. So here is media. This is image. I'll click and drag. Then I'll expand it so that it will look nice and clean. Yes, that's okay. Center it, then email and password. So I'll still look for container and drag a rectangle. Yes, I'll drag it by the side and make it a little bit slim. Expand the container. Then I'm going to bring in the text, some text, label, double click, and edit it, username. Now hold and use Alt and drag to duplicate it. Then I'll double click the username and change it to password. So the last one now will be button. So I'll drag and drop a button, and I'll edit the button to login. So as you guys can see, this is just like Figma is similar with Figma with low functionalities. Then this some text will now be forgot password. So this is just for low fidelity wireframing. Yes. So as you can see, I made a duplicate of what we have here in Figma. So do try out the Balsamic software and tell me what you guys think about it. So now the next one is to add the social login icons, which is Google, Facebook, and Twitter. So I'll drop some text, just type G, move that, zoom in, move the G into the box. Then I'll just increase the font size, then duplicate the both of them, holding the Alt key. Yes. Then I'll do it again. I did copy and paste for this one. So I'll rename this to F and rename this to T. So I'll just hold the three of them, holding the Shift key. Then I'll space out vertically. No, that's not working. No. This is not working too. So I'll just click and drag to the center. That was what I wanted to achieve. So I'll zoom out a bit, and voila, here we have a duplicate of what we just did in Figma.